Hello everyone, it's David here, and I'm very excited to be joined today by a man who needs no introduction, but he's going to get one anyway. A man who's in the SFA Hall of Fame, who represented his country at 3 World Cups, something I don't think many of the current generation will ever get to experience. Who then, as a player, won every single domestic trophy in Scotland, but also the European Cup Winners' Cup and the European Super Cup. As a manager, he led Motherwell to their highest place finish of all time. He then went to Hibs and took them from Division 1 straight back into the Premier League, before moving to Rangers, where he had a rather successful spell we're about to get into, including 7 trophies, including a treble, including 2 unbelievable last day league wins, including a last minute Scottish Cup final victory over Celtic, and taking Rangers to the last 16 of the Champions League, our highest ever finish in that tournament. And that was before he then went to Scotland, taking Scotland within seconds of reaching a major tournament, the closest that they've been in decades, and topping it all off, if that wasn't enough, by taking Birmingham into the Premier League and winning them a trophy, the League Cup. There are other things to talk about, but obviously as a Rangers podcast, we are here today to discuss that in the main with the man himself, Mr. Alex McLeish. Alex, thank you for joining us today.
Great, it's a pleasure, guys. Glad to be on.
Now,
thanks for having me.
Last night, as we record this, we watched Rangers take on Dunfermline in that 6-1 game, that memorable 2003 match. And I must admit, Alex, you caused a lot of tension that day. I remember sweating a great deal in the stadium.
Yeah, well, it was just a phenomenal day all round. And the week up, leading up to it, was keeping up a hugely high tempo as quick as we could, getting the ball into good forward areas, getting balls in the box. The more we get in there, the more we felt we had great chances, because we went pretty harem-scarum in terms of the front guys. It was almost like 4 strikers up front, and it was a 4-2, almost 4-2-4, or we did keep a hold of Fernando a wee bit, so possibly 4-3-3, but the other three guys were superb in terms of front players in a world stage. Caniggia, De Boer and Arveladze.
I was watching some of the finishing last night. It was brilliant, but we'll come to that. Let's go back right to the start. Christmas 2001. Dick Advocaat announces that he's moving upstairs, and within the week you were introduced to the fans at Ibrox. I know that, having spoken to Dick Advocaat since then, he said that he'd been kind of keeping an eye on you for a while at this point, and that he had said to David Murray, he's the guy. Had he let you know that, or was it a very quick process?
It was a very quick process. David, Murray was in full agreement with Dick, or whether it was David's idea, I don't know. Maybe they threw it between each other, and anyway, Dick, had said that he just couldn't get any more out of the players, and it was my turn now, and I thought, well, when David made that phone call to me and said, his words were, I bet he didn't know think you would get this call, and I said, no, you're absolutely right. I thought my destiny might be to move down to the Premier League in England, if I was looking to be ambitious, because it looked like Rangers were, employing the top foreign managers, and I thought that would be an ongoing process. But when I got the call, it was an incredible surprise, and one that made me and my family so proud.
Alex, that squad had been through the ringer a wee bit, and morale was probably very low, I would imagine. So I assume when you came in, you were told that the amount of money that was spent in the kind of 2 years before that, we wouldn't be able to sustain that same level. So was it more about man management of good players and making some tactical improvements that you thought would help them out too, and just kind of get them going again?
Yeah, when you look at the dressing room, and when I arrived, we'd already invested in that big squad. So to go and splash money at it, and when I already had amazing players in that squad as it was when I arrived. Then there wasn't really any need to splash out cash, and the only acquisition we did get was Arteta, who'd already been in the system. I wasn't the one that scouted him, although I did send Andy Watson just as a final to see if we could be convinced that Mikel could fit into the way we played. And he played not an unfamiliar role, but because he was just still a young lad learning his trade, and he had such good feet, he was quick enough, and we felt that he would be more suited to an attacking role rather than a holding midfielder, which he famously became in his English years in Everton and Arsenal. So that was the only acquisition, and I didn't feel the necessity to go and get new faces, because when I looked around that dressing room, I was looking at players who'd played in a World Cup semi-final for Holland, and other great players from different nations, and including our very own Barry Ferguson, who was a fantastic player on that final day. Not only that final day, but as you know, his career with Rangers was pretty glorious.
Alex, one thing that looking back that I find very interesting, especially with this kind of modern manager thing, about they all seem to have a philosophy and they seem to have a style of play and they never ever deviate from it. At Hibs, you'd had a very successful time there playing a kind of 3-5-2 with, I remember, two wing-backs. I think Lawson was one and Dela Cruz on the other side. But you came to Rangers and you didn't come in and say, this is how I play. You sort of looked at the squad and went, right, what can I do to get the best out of this? Is this something that you feel is maybe getting lost a wee bit by modern standards, where everybody seems to have one way of playing and that's it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have seen a few teams mixing up a wee bit. Some teams have played the three Man United. I know they're not the Man United that they were when Sir Alex was in charge, but they seem to be coming back a wee bit. But in saying that, they've tried 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 4-3 at the back as well, and a lot of people kind of playing it now and again when they think that the tactics call for it. So I think it is good to be flexible in terms of changing it around a wee bit. But when I was at Hibs, Frank Jose came, a brilliant French internationalist, and played with Marseille, won the European Cup, and Frank was playing midfield, and I felt that we were 4-4-2, and I felt that it wasn't quite. Didn't quite have the legs, at that particular time of his career. And it was then that we came up with the idea of playing three at the back and played Frank in the middle of the three, because he just controlled the whole team, and he's a possession of the ball, and he's long passing. He could put a 50-yarder on I was going to say a sixpence, but I don't think the listeners will know what a sixpence is, on a 50-pence piece, and he just a genius and a wonderful, wonderful footballer, and it just transformed our whole team, turning the 3-5-2, as you say, with De La Cruz on the right. We had the other players playing in that position before De La Cruz. Lovell played there, but also Ulrich Larsson on the other side was an absolute machine. So, yeah, it was. But anyway, back to Rangers. And when I came in, I looked around the dressing and I thought, wow, how can I not get something out of these players? Let them express themselves, and let's play the game a wee bit faster rather than trying to walk it into the net, and see if we can get the ball forward quicker. Passing on the deck, because they were all focus of that quality, and if the long ball was effective enough, then it's a long pass. We didn't call it a long ball, and so there was a couple of tactical tweaks. We then also decided that when Celtic were playing three at the back, we decided to go with three up against them, and I thought, well, I've got to take a few risks here, and we worked very hard with the back four to compensate for that, and get across the pitch very quickly. Forget about the wing back away up on the other side. We can always get back out there, and it worked to a treat in those first few Celtic games that we've played.
I guess that, like you said, that Celtic team were pretty 3-5-2. They were so dominant, but physically dominant as well. Our squad was full of small technical players. Really, it was obvious that we couldn't match them physically. So I guess you need to come up with another way of solving the problem.
Yeah, well, that was very, very evident in the cup final, of 2002 when Peter scored the winner, and we lost 2 goals, set pieces, and that was a wee weakness for us against Celtic, and so the war cry was quite simply, listen, if they score 2, we've got to score 3. If they score 1, we have to score 2. It was that philosophy, and we did have the ammunition within the team to do that, as was proved on that particular era, in that era.
Alex, one thing about this I wanted to take you back to the League Cup semi-final that year, because a lot of Rangers fans, myself included, we really felt that was a turning point. And looking back, because Celtic had been gubbing us really for about 2 years by this stage, and there was a game at Ibrox in September of that season when Advocat was in charge where they beat us 2-0 and they didn't break sweat, and you just looked at the Rangers team and thought they don't think they can beat them. And then we went into that semi-final at Hampden, very much the underdogs, and Rangers were fitter. We outlasted them. We were stronger. And again in the cup final, which was on the TV last week and watched the full 90 minutes, the last half an hour, Rangers are getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and Celtic are tiring. Did you feel that you had the edge on them in terms of fitness? Was it something that you worked on especially?
Not as such. I mean, obviously Dick Advocat would have his own style of coaching and training, methods and drills and exercises. We just worked on sharpness. Really, it was more sharpness that time of the season, especially going in at that time. I couldn't put the players through a grilling kind of mid-season workouts. Certainly back in the day, in my Aberdeen days, Alex Ferguson used to take us for a warm weather training between games. If we played, say, St Mirren on the Saturday, we'd leave and fly out to Marbella or Mallorca the next day and train for a few days, and we'd obviously get a wee bit of relaxation as well. And boss would give you a night out, and then there was a night supervised with staff. We always knew that when we come back, we were going to get the headlines if we didn't win, and it would have been away in a jolly. But we tended to come back and have and win those games. But we didn't go away and do a powerful pre-season. Sir Alex would call it a top-up, a top-up. But so that stage when I went in December, it was more about getting the sharpness back for the guys. And also, let's face it, confidence. Confidence is everything in football. And you see some teams, you think they're not going to be beaten for 5 years. You see Man City playing Liverpool a couple of years ago, you say they Liverpool never beat them. They're so good. And then City go through a wee rut, and then Liverpool improve incredibly well, and they've been a huge force this season. Obviously the COVID-19 craziness has brought everything to a halt. But it was more getting confidence back in the players. The first training session, we're running round the pitch. In those days, I was able to join in with the boys, and running around talking to one or two, just getting to know some of them and then trying to make them relax and equally give them the stature that they deserve in the platform. And so I'll give you an example. I was jogging with Ronald at kind of the middle of the squad, and I started to talk to him about some of the games I'd seen when he played with Ajax, and Ronald never really commented at the time, but a few months later, somebody had said to me Ronald was astonished about how much he knew about his career, and the games, the individual games. I think I quoted a game where they played in a semi-final of European Cup against Panathinaikos. They lost in Amsterdam 1-0, but they battered them over in Athens with a magnificent performance of total football, where Van der Sar, who was the forerunner of the goalkeepers who played the ball out to the back, and to see him standing like 10 yards outside his right hand post or his left hand post to receive a pass back. Back in the day when we were playing, our gaffers would have went apoplectic, what's he doing away out there, and stay in the middle of your goals. And but those were the days of pass backs, and you could pick the ball up. But that was just getting into some heads. Amaruso had fallen out with Dick a wee bit, and Dick wasn't playing him. And my mission was to get him fit. He was injured at the time, and back into that team to be a driving force, which he certainly was through my tenure.
You mentioned there getting the players fitter and obviously some tactical tweaks, etc. But then you've kind of mentioned as well, it obviously goes beyond that as well. And is it just a case of trying to deal with people one-on-one and finding out what makes them tick, what could get them a little bit better attuned and a bit more ready to go? I think we kind of seen it with when Steven Gerrard came in 2 years ago. We were beaten before we went on the park sometimes, and he's changed it all around with more quality players and a clear tactical idea, but you can see kind of mentality and belief coming to the fore as well. Is that something that you think is becoming more important now?
Yeah. Excuse me. I was a big I am a big advocate of one-to-ones, and I did do a lot with the players individually, to try and empower them and to get them to believe in themselves. Look what you've already done. You've already showed me that evidence that you can do that, and we with the video guys getting the analysis out and showing them, just what these guys had achieved in the past before this bad wee run under Celtic's powerful new team, and also a lot of great technical players in the Celtic team as well. So the one-to-ones were something that I felt was really important, and I did it at almost every club that I was at.
We spoke to Lorenzo Amoruso on the site, and he did an interview with us, and something that came out very strongly was when we asked about obviously what had gone on under Advocat, and then when you came in, and he said the difference was Alex treated you like a man, and he said that the players collectively wouldn't even need at times like a team talk. He said, you mentioned there about letting the players go away for a short trip, and then you coming back thinking, right, we need to get the victory. He told us about a time, I think it was a Boxing Day fixture, and you told them on Christmas Eve, look, I'll give you Christmas Day off, but you've got to win, basically. If you don't, then I can't do this again. And Amo said to us that, see the dressing room that day, you would have thought it was a Champions League final. The boys were, we would have ran through a wall and we went out and won 4-0. He said it could have been 8 or 9. Was that a conscious thing at first? Can you do that until they maybe don't do it for you, and then you have to be a bit more draconian? Or was it, as I say, a conscious thing to say, no, I'm going to treat them more like adults and see if they respond to that?
Yeah, well that was really the whole key in those decisions. And by and large, in all my managerial jobs, I had that kind of ruling. And I said, look, I don't want to bring in Christmas Day, and be great if you can enjoy it with your families, but you have to play the game professionally in terms of watching intake of alcohol. Shouldn't be any really 24 hours before a game, but you can imagine one or two of the lads having a glass of wine with a Christmas dinner and their family. So, but needless to say, they were so professional, and the next day, and it was a wee bit of a war cry, I would imagine, in the dressing room, because we used to do it ourselves. I said when we come back from that summer break, we used to be on the plane on the Friday saying, look, we've a couple of nights out this week, guys, we can't even be going out on Saturday with a hangover. We must win this next game when we play on Saturday, and we flew back on the Thursday. And I don't remember us ever losing a game coming back from the warm winter training. And that was a kind of similarity in terms of the Christmas stuff. And as Amo said, the whole dressing room were rampant and said, look, he's given us this kind of decent treatment in terms of treating us all like adults and making sure that we behave like adults, and they did. And they come back, and again, I can't look back and say we had a nightmare the next day, but I certainly, the ones that I remember, everything went well.
Were there any players that that surprised you, in the sense that you maybe had a preconceived idea of them, either before you joined Rangers or before they joined in the early years, and then once you got working with them, you kind of completely changed your opinion, or you decided they weren't quite what you thought they were?
Well, Mikey Malls had gone through some bad a bad period in terms of his I think it was his cruciate. He went to Holland and got it done, and he didn't look the same, Mikey Malls, and there was a couple of wee things, and I was playing him in the reserves and just trying to get him back to what he was, and there was one little thing triggered in me when we played a reserve game at Dumbarton, and Dumbarton counter-attacked the reserve team, and this Michael Malls ran, chased 50 yards back and recovered the ball, and it made me think, listen, never mind if Michael has lost a certain sharpness in his movement or his turns, his brilliant turns. That guy really cares. Look what he's doing for the reserve team. A lot of the guys will get in the reserve team and not move a muscle and say, I shouldn't be playing for the reserves. But I felt that, Michael just needed to try and get his mind back to never giving up. And that day I thought, that guy really cares. I'm going to put him in the team again. And he came back and he had some magnificent performances. Now, I knew he was already a brilliant player, but just that wee spell, I thought, is he done? And he proved to me that day that just with that gesture of chasing back 50 yards, recovering the ball, and then it wasn't a beautiful skill or anything that I seen. It was just that sheer mentality. He's saying to me, "I'll show you," And then when he came back into the team, he recovered a lot of his mobility, and he was doing those little Mikey Malls turns, the feinting to the left, or feinting to the right, and swivelling on a defender. He was back to that again, and he scored some really vital goals for us in his comeback. So, that was a real kind of eye-opener. He was already a great player, but we just needed to get him back to just about his best again.
Yeah, there's two big what ifs running about this time for me, and one of them is obviously Moles' injury, and the type of player he went on to be was obviously different to what he would be now. But the other one for me is George Albert's leaving before you came in. I always felt that he would have been the type of player that you would have built the team around almost. Yeah, I felt like it was a real missed opportunity, and you think when he left he was only 30, he could have been there right up to 2005, 2006 even.
George was a he's a legend, and in that part of Glasgow as well. I knew when I lived in Bearstown, I knew some of his close friends, and George just absolutely idolised Rangers. And did he play? I think he played just about one game. I think maybe, or when I was at Rangers.
No, he left in the summer. He regrets it. He wishes he'd hung on us.
That's right. It was my last game. I think it was at Hibs, and he scored at Easter Road, and it was one of the last games, and then he left. Yeah, you're right. And but George, I had to get on with what I had, and George would have been a great acquisition, I'm sure, for another year or so. But I know how much he cares about the club. The other one who really surprised me was Caniggia, because when watching Caniggia playing for Argentina in a World Cup, you could obviously see his class, but at that time everybody was overshadowed by Maradona. And you think, well, he's not got the skills of Maradona, but when I saw him in training, and when I saw the damage he done to clubs in the last third, and especially that cup final, the League Cup final, when we won 2-1 in the second season, and Caniggia was just fantastic, phenomenal. He would get close, defenders would get so close to him, and then he would just use his mobility and his intensified speed over short distances. I says, this guy is a far better player than I ever thought he was. Technically, not just about speed. I used to think it was just about speed, but technically better than I ever thought. And I'd seen him previously at Dundee as well, and when I get the chance to work with him, then I thought, wow, he's way higher up in my estimation than I ever imagined.
Alex, the first 18 months are unbelievable. Something I'm sure people actually have forget, that from when you took over in the December to the end of the season, Rangers only lost one domestic match. Unbelievable. And when you think of the way they'd been playing before that. But then that following season, the treble season, we're going to talk about in some detail. Craig Moore talked to us and did an interview, and he said that in his whole career, that's the only time that season, and you think of all the great sides he played in, he said, where it wasn't a feeling of, we're going to win. It was, how many are we going to win by every week? He said, just that was the attitude of that side. He said we were so confident in a good way, not arrogant, but he just said we knew if we all went out and did our job and that we all trusted each other. Could you sense that momentum among that side of, no, they're focused here, they've got this?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, we said that we frequently talked about goal difference as well, throughout, because we all agreed that Celtic were a phenomenal side as well at that time, and even people had quoted them as being the best team since Lisbon Lions, and we said they won't lose many, and we won't lose many, but we have to concentrate on scoring goals, and we have to be watertight at the back as well. Now, to do both that for a team is very difficult, because sometimes when you're searching for goals, your centre backs start getting forward. Even guys like Craig Moore and Amoruso start appearing midway into the opposition half. When you've got a team under the cosh, and you're thinking, well, what if they break against us? But the boys were so bold, and we tried to have a bold attitude, and I think it showed in terms of that season, and the amount of games where we scored a few goals, and that the thriller at the end of the season when every second goal we got more than Celtic in that game when they were playing against Kilmarnock. To think that was going to be the difference, there you go, and so that was a factor, and it was something that we discussed.
It's funny when you think literally every goal counted, and we were watching that game last night and you see Amoruso chasing down a ball and putting a cross in from left wing to set up one of the goals, and you think, well, that tactical framework needs to allow that, and you need to allow your centre half the freedom to go and do that to make that possible.
Yeah, that was quite one of the phenomena in that game when you see Amoruso running up to the wide area. I think I can't remember, was it the result of a free kick or a corner anyway or something like that. So we've all been up there, and we've all stayed up there in the past and to try and get a goal.
You did it to us in the 82 Scottish Cup final.
That was in my head, but I wasn't.
I haven't forgiven you for that one yet.
Well, that was Amoruso had inspired at that very moment. And let's be honest, the crowd, took inspiration for that as well. And Amo knows that if he's going to do something for the team, that he's going to get roundly applauded by the fans, and these guys thrive on that, and of course Arveladze's finish was just sublime. Yeah. So yes, that was the type of team that we were that season. That was the type of team, type of style that we had to adopt, because and Celtic had to do it as well. They had to try and score goals, as many goals as they could in all their games. We dropped a point in the first game of the season against Kilmarnock, and Celtic won, and then the next day it was, is the league over? and they said no, there's definitely no. There's going to be twists and turns in this league this season, but we're certainly going to have a great chance in it. And for me, I always felt it would go right to the wire.
The only disappointment in that season was going out of Europe to Victoria Zizkov. But looking back, maybe with, the benefit of hindsight, was that maybe not the worst thing that could have happened that year?
Well, I still look back and think when we approached every game, we want to win every game. Yeah, so it wasn't like a relief, but if you're at the end of the season, you might take it as that, because possibly, so like Ronald, for instance, Ronald quit the year after with, it was too much for his knee, and maybe too many games for him in Europe might have no allowed us to have him to do what he did in the league. So in the end, if that's what had to happen, then for us to win that, then of course we take that, absolutely. And the Zizkov game was a disappointment, not a high-powered team that we lost to, but sometimes you get these upsets in European football, and especially sometimes if the players think, if they go out and think, well, maybe we'll beat this team just by doing their own thing and doing it at a lesser pace, and that was maybe the problem. But in saying that, you just cannot take away the season that they had.
Sorry, go on, Adam. Go on.
I was going to say, just to bring it back to present time a little bit, then Rangers have obviously had some excellent results in Europe over the last 2 seasons and overachieved, I think, both seasons. But you kind of wonder, given how the 2 domestic campaigns have went, whether that's had a bit of an impact. You mentioned there it's probably not possible to manage the Thursday-Sunday schedule and kind of prioritise one over the other. You kind of have to just go with what game's coming up next, don't you?
Yeah, Rangers this season, phenomenal showing in Europe, and I guess the biggest disappointment is obviously when the they beat Celtic. They go away from home and beat Celtic, and then have a disappointing run of results again. It was almost like a replica of last season, and dropping points here and there, and Celtic continue to win. This is, I think everybody thought, and probably maybe even Stephen as well, but and Big Gary, two great friends, and they would probably have thought, well, we're not going to do what we done last season, but for some reason, maybe not just quite strong enough at the moment, mentally, and possibly one or two new acquisitions can help to make the difference. But that's been the big disappointment this season if you're a Rangers fan.
I remember thinking that summer 2002, obviously Tory Andrew Flo left. I think he'd got quite a lot of goals the season before. I think it was 25 he managed to get in all competitions. But I remember thinking going into that season that we were maybe a little bit light attacking wise, and we didn't have that centre forward that we maybe had before. But then we went on to just it was a fantastic tactic with so much kind of attacking intent. Was it a case that you wanted to? It was quite ahead of its time, I thought. You mentioned it was kind of 4-2-4, 4-3-3, but we had the two attacking fullbacks, and then we had one defensive midfielder, I guess, if you want to call it that, but he didn't always play. Sometimes it was Ferguson and Arteta who were naturally more attacking. Was that a kind of thing that you thought from the summer, we want to go with this and we want to have this high energy football, or was it something that just kind of evolved as the season went tactically?
No, well, we felt with Arteta, and I had dialogue with Ronald de Boer about Mikel, because Ronald obviously had the Barcelona connection, and he was telling me about what the coaches thought about Mikel and his quality, his ability, his good passing of the ball, and the one thing that I said, we spoke about the coaches now, Andy Watson and Jan Wouters, fantastic coaches, and great to have them by my side. We felt, well, he's not going to be able to usurp Barry Ferguson. Barry was alone in that position as the most outstanding player, not only the club, but I would have said in the league in that position. Which Mikel went on to have a great career, playing more of a holding role. Barry liked to get forward, but he also could do both, getting back as well. Mikel likewise learned how to do those things later in his career. But we thought about the dynamic and said that he's quick, he's very quick with the ball, he's got good feet. What about him linking from the left side, coming in and linking in with the forwards? And what a treat for us. And Barry kind of marshalling just in front of the back four balls, so taking his moments, choosing the right moments to go forward. And it just gave us such a speedy dynamic playing Mikel from that position. And we obviously had the choice of forwards that was incredible. Torry going was part of the process of the club maybe looking at the pennies, but that was we totally understood that, and I felt that we could handle that. And discussing with David and Martin Bain, that I definitely felt that we had the power and the players' quality to continue to score goals. And I think Barry had a barrel of goals that season, and Ronald de Boer, we, instead of playing him at number 10, we played him at number 9, which put the fear of God into the opposition players and defenders. Yeah, that was. We had made our minds up not to play Mikel in that kind of short, the just in front of the back four, but to play in a more dynamic attacking role.
Alex, That summer, the team unfortunately breaks up. Financial realities beginning to hit home at the club. I have to ask, you've won 5 trophies out of 5. You're playing this great football. Your team's been kind of sold out from under you. Was there a temptation on your part to maybe go, I should maybe look at my options here, because your stock was incredibly high at this point and you must have been getting quite a lot of glances from the Premiership down south?
Yeah. Well, it's difficult to leave, just walk away from a phenomenon like Glasgow Rangers, and having I kind of thought, right, we're going to have off the Scot to build again, and I had a previous experience of that at Motherwell, and I knew that if we didn't get the right players in, then the preparation was going to be difficult for the next season. And as a result, I think we did far too many deals in the summer, just leading up to the pre-season training. And it was just too late, because it was difficult to we didn't need to scout the players because a lot of them were household names, but they were, in the twilights of their career. And, for instance, Capucho came back from winning a treble with Jose Mourinho in Portugal, and he had an extended, we had to give him extended holiday time, and he was in Brazil for a couple of weeks, and he came back. He wasn't fit, and it took us about 2 months to get Capucho to a better level, and at that kind of moment we had made decisions and no playing him and things like that, and just when I felt that he was probably looking extremely fit again, we let him go. And so that the preparation for that season, David recognised that, and at the end of the season, we lost in the semi-final to Hibs in penalties, and then David and Martin and I sat down to the end, and it was you can easily lose your job in that, but David was fair and said, look, you haven't had a good deck of cards this season. Let's there's no way that you'll be getting your jotters, and it was great to hear that, and they kept the faith, and the next season we prepared well. We did have a couple of players already tied up in January that served us so well in the coming season. Dado Pricho and Boomsong. And then we had made some other acquisitions later on in that season, as you know, which led to last day celebrations also. So, to lose all those players in one fell swoop after winning the treble was a sore one.
I think as well, I think it's a kind of double-edged sword, isn't it? If you're losing all those players that you think Newman, Caniggia, Amoruso, McCann, Barry Ferguson, David Hero, Dan Egan. The only one that came in was Nuno Capucho for money. Everyone else, as you mentioned, was kind of freeze. Is that difficult, I guess, as you get through the summer and you're maybe coming back to pre-season? You mentioned they all come in a wee bit later on. Is that kind of quite challenging, and you think you're almost running out of time a little bit?
Yeah, we were chasing the clock already, and trying to get a system, get players used to each other, and trying to get a rhythm, which made it really difficult. And yet, as you know, we tried to keep a philosophy of winning every game that we went into. There was no real, in Europe we were a wee bit different, but there was no kind of real thoughts of saying, right, let's sit back against Aberdeen and then hit them in a counter attack. We never really had those kind of thoughts, and we always felt that Rangers are expected to win. They're one of the unique clubs in the world where the fans demand and Rangers demand that you win every single week. And we probably at times were a wee bit exposed, maybe legs wise. Some of the players, as I said, Emerson came in, he was a fantastic technician, but he didn't have the legs anymore, and just at the back end of his career, and one or two others. But in saying that, it was a real disruption of a team that were in harmony. When you have to change 6 or 7 positions, I don't care what anybody says. I think that harms a team. If I go back to the year that I coached the Birmingham, managed the Birmingham, we played in the Carling Cup. We played some smaller teams in the opening rounds, and I said, right, it's a chance to spread the squad about. And I made 7 or 8 changes, and you're looking. I'm not actually looking at the team on paper. I'm saying it's a great team. Actually, it's a great team. But then you go on and we struggled, and won the game in penalties at Birmingham, and we struggled in 1 or 2 of the other ties when I kept changing the team, and it's because you don't have that rhythm. While these guys are training every day and training together, you think, well, they must know each other. But when you don't get that kind of natural rhythm of playing together with each other for a long time, then you know everybody's habits and what they can do, what they can't do. And that made it a very tough season for me.
Alex, although we're just about to talk about the most famous title triumph in Scottish football history, one that will never ever be forgotten as long as anybody that was there on that day. I'm getting goosebumps even just thinking about it, never mind asking about it. But people maybe forget that there was a wee period earlier in that season where the team was struggling, looked a wee bit short in confidence, and there were 2 games where the papers were saying that your job might be in trouble, and that was a League Cup game up at Aberdeen. No gimme at all, that one, Aberdeen away for Rangers, and then Maritimo in the UEFA Cup as it was at the time. Did you feel it? I mean, you said that David Murray had spoken to you and said don't worry about it, but did you feel that pressure? And of course Rangers dig out, Fernando Rickson scores a beauty up at Pittodrie, and we get Aberdeen, and we get through that 2-0, and then of course Maritimo. I mean, Adam and I were in the ground that night. We felt the tension as fans, never mind as... Was that on the table from David Murray, or was he just saying to you, ignore the papers, I know you've got this?
Yeah, David. I'm sure they would have probably got a wee bit wobbly. Yeah, I'm certain that David and Martin would have had a chat about it, and you never know if the penalty shootout against Maritimo didn't go the right way. Then you never know. I might not be talking to you just now, or maybe talking to you about something different. But I think that night, when we got through that, then I felt that a wee bit of confidence come back to the team and a wee bit of belief again. And as you say, there was that important game against Aberdeen up at Pittodrie, which made a big difference. And then I think was it Celtic next one? That was one of the next games.
Yep.
Coming up, which was of course probably the biggie, the real. Well, it's always the biggie. It's always a biggie, but that would have been the biggest one for us.
Oh, I think we've lost Adam.
You're right, we lost Adam there.
I'll be back, I'm sure. So moving on to later in that season, the team starts to get a bit of momentum, and up front you've got Dado Purzo, who was a warrior. The guy looked as though he was built for Scottish football. I wanted to ask you in general about French. There was a lot of signings from France about that time, and you found some real quality players. And I've always been intrigued by this because you know the French game really well. You've done this your whole career. I always wondered if it's a league that you liked, or whether it was maybe something from your playing days. Because I remember Eric Black went over to play there for a while as well. And is it a league you admire, basically?
Yeah, League One in France was, at that time you could get some bargains, but probably more importantly, when contracts were finished in France, then they were finished. In Scotland, I'm not sure about England at the time, but when I was finishing my career, I know that the Bosmans were in place by the time, I brought Dado and all that, and even in Scotland. But when I was playing, I even at the end of my contract, you couldn't just walk away. There was many times that I've had approaches from people in England. There wasn't so much the big agency thing there where the agent could go and kick down the door of the manager. I had to deal with Sir Alex Ferguson on my Todd at times and renewing contracts and and saying to my wife, I'm going to tell him that I want to move, but in the end I bottled it and asked him instead for more money, and probably a tenner rise, So these days, when the markets were open, France was, for me, it was a good. There was definitely a good market in there, and you could pick up some good players. Sometimes, not always, but I knew that we were looking at the pennies, so I had to be very fruitful in terms of bringing in the right one, and that is one of the key things in professional football is recruitment. And I did learn over the years that you've got to get the recruitment right. And Motherwell, it was very similar to Rangers. Motherwell were finished second after Rangers, and Celtic were third. I remember Tommy Burns saying that Motherwell teams are a really cracking footballing team, and I'd like to get Celtic to the levels. And Tommy was at that time trying to build a team again. So for him to say that was quite amazing. But the second season at Motherwell, I lost, similar to Rangers' situation, I lost about 8 or 9 players. Kravokovic was done. Tommy Coyne had a knee that just couldn't allow him to play anymore. Chris McCart was similar. We about 9 players out. Paul Lambert left, and he was one of the first to leave on a Bosman, and Rob McKinnon as well. So it decimated the core of the team. And I tried to replace Tommy Coyne with a guy who I thought had his great movement and looked as if he could have the same kind of traits as Tommy Coyne, but he was only a young guy and didn't have all the answers yet. Then when you see him in the team and it's not quite the Tommy Coyne that you thought it was, that's when I learned all about recruitment. And that's when I felt that the year before, when we bought all those, not bought all those players, but took all those players in the summer, free transfers, and had a miserable season, that the next season we prepared in advance, and that was the key. Dado.
So see that. Yeah, I was going to say, so Purcell and Boomsong. Then how much far in advance is that? Because Purcell was runner-up in the Champions League with Monaco, and Boomsong was the next big French star. Was that a big challenge then, I guess, to get them over the line and come to Rangers?
It was around about January, Adam. So it was the previous January. I went across to Monaco to see Dado playing for the French team against Real Madrid in I don't know if it was the semi-finals or the quarter-finals, but Dado absolutely battered the Real Madrid defence to pieces. And to know that this guy was wanting to come with all his heart to play for Rangers was, I thought, oh God, I just hope nobody's looking here, I hope that nobody in Milan or something don't come in here. But he was intent on coming to Rangers. And Boomsong, we also got him through Auxerre, and we knew that he was a French international and a star for the future. and he was so quick and strong that again. We did the deal in January. We did it well in advance of him coming in the summer. I'm sure it was in about January, and we obviously, we only held on to Boomsong for half a season. But him and Dado were two giants to come to Rangers at that particular time and transform the team.
That 2005 window there, you mentioned obviously that amount of money coming in for Boomsong after he's only been there 4 months. I guess sometimes you just need to hold your hand up and say it's good business, but it is a huge offer. But I guess it definitely cushions the blow when you can go out and bring in guys like Vateris, Kyrgiakos, Barry Ferguson coming back, and Thomas Buffel with the money. Obviously, it's sad to see someone go after only 4 months, but I think that cushions the blow a wee bit.
Yeah, well,
Alex,
as you know,
Alex, I've got to ask you though, did you go into David Murray when the Boomsong deal went and say, I want the money this time? Right, come on.
Yeah, well, when we spoke about it, he said, Alex, listen, we can't refuse that money at this particular time in the club's finances. And I said, no, Chairman, I've never ever been against doing anything. I've always backed the club in terms of where they have to be, and and I've just got to get on with it and still try and keep a winning team. But I do need a wee bit of help, and he says, "Oh no, there'll definitely be the money's available to you to strengthen the team." Now, as you know, that sometimes selling one player and bringing in 5 or 6 players to replace him and still save some money into the bargain is sometimes doesn't work, and most of the times it doesn't work if you're selling a marquee player. And if I can give you an example of Gareth Bale when he left Spurs,
that's right, yeah,
for 80 million, then Pochettino, or was Pochettino, I think, was it the sold Bale? The Spurs then went on to bring in about 5 or 6 players, and on paper those players look pretty decent.
Aye.
But then when you try and marry them all into the team in the first few games, or you feed 1 or 2 in now and again, then you see the gap that has been left by the loss of Bale. And it took Spurs quite a wee while to recover and to get those guys into a kind of rhythm. Some of them have done well, and I don't know if some of them lasted the course. Okay, so I was on that example of losing Bale, and then Spurs kind of lose a maverick, and it spirals them a wee bit, down further down the table, and then it takes them a while to recover. But we did some really good business that season with Boomsong going and bringing in Kyrgiakos, who, let's face it, he was almost like a big Scottish warrior as well. He was like a Dado centre half, and Dado was a Kyrgiakos centre forward kind of thing, 2 guys of the same ilk. Barry Ferguson coming back was awesome, and Thomas Buffel as well. So these guys, and Ronnie Vateris, who was a tremendous footballer in terms of his passing, and that was that was the next problem for me. But the choice between Vateris and Stefan.
Oh, I can imagine having that kind of option these days. My
goodness. Two high quality Eagle guys,
Oh, they were superb footballers. And we go on, we won the League Cup. A thumping, great performance at Hampden to beat Motherwell 5-1. We beat Celtic away, which we hadn't done for a while. Beat them 2-0 with the Gregory Vignal and Nacho Novo goals. And then it gets into another one of these. It's going to be an epic title race. Celtic bring in Craig Bellamy, and there's enough time has gone by now for me to admit that Craig Bellamy was actually quite a good player, and he was tearing it up. And they beat us 2-1 at Ibrox. They're 5 points ahead with 3 games to go. Famously, their fans put up a banner saying we won the league at Ibrox. And look, at that point, you've got to pick yourself up. And I remember going, this is why I always laugh when they talk about a winter break in Scotland, Alex, because I don't know if you remember this game, but we went up to Pittodrie the following week, and the fans were down. We were down. We thought we thought it was done. And the pitch that day was like a swimming pool. It just would not stop raining. And Dado, it was horrible. And this is April, you know? And it looked like the middle of winter. And Dado Purzo has just this absolutely unbelievable game. We get a 3-1 win. Celtic lose, and then all of a sudden, maybe it's back on. How do you pick the players up after that defeat? Because, as I say, going to Pittodrie is probably the worst place Rangers can go for an away trip out with Parkhead. And how do you say to them, look, lads, you've got to, I don't care, I know it's 5 points in 3 games, but you've got to give yourselves a chance?
Well, I think Celtic played the day before, David, didn't they?
Aye.
They played Hibs the day before and lost, and that gave us the kind of motivation, the impetus, and a big lift in terms of going to that Pittodrie game. I'm sure that was the kind of timeline.
They were bang up for it that day, Aberdeen. They really came at us.
Aye, but we played. We played on Sunday. I think Celtic played Hibs on the Saturday and lost.
Aye, and we were the live game.
Because I remember the bus erupting when we were on the road, and because I kept saying to the players, "Turn that off. These are all bloody,
You'll jinx it."
With the oohs and the ahs, never mind. We'll find out the score, but they kept it on, and then they erupted when Hibs had won the game, and so that took us, if we won at Aberdeen, back to 2 points, which we went up there, as you said, there was a quagmire. Big Dado ploughed through the Aberdeen defence as if they weren't there, and it was a brilliant victory in terms of our morale again, And we back to Glasgow with the 3 points, and we were only within 2 now.
I remember that Aberdeen game. I was actually at that one, and that's the one where Purcell was sliding through the rain, wasn't it? In front of the Rangers fans, yeah.
He was dragging defenders. They were holding on him, trying to pull him back, and he was just ploughing right through them.
That game,
wonderful.
That game's quite an interesting one, because you mentioned obviously Celtic had lost the day before, but then we scored early on. Ferguson scored, it must have been the first 15 minutes or so, but then Aberdeen equalised, and we managed to get that goal just before half time. I guess that team talk would have been very different if we hadn't managed to, if we'd been in at 1-1 rather than us being 2-1 up. It would have been slightly different.
Of course, atmosphere changes with every goal that's scored for or against. But coming into the dressing room, the players were really, at each other in terms of, we've got to win this game. We don't win this, we'll regret it for the rest of our lives. And it ended up a little bit like the same spiel on Helicopter Sunday. But that was the war cry at half time. They knew that they had to win the Aberdeen game and come away with the 3 points. And then the bottle that we had in the dressing room, the fierceness of the Dados and the Fergusons drove everybody on. And then Rickson as well,
And then that following week, the games are, like, you wouldn't have seen because you were obviously, of course, at the epicentre of this. But as the boys were all heading off to Easter Road, even as the fans, Glasgow, it split all its bars, Alex, where there would be some bars would be showing the Rangers game and some showing the Celtic game. So Glasgow was like a ghost town, because there was nobody in the streets during this kind of 3 hours. And I'll never forget, nobody will ever forget this. Marvin Andrews, Big Marvin, you got him from Livingston. I think a lot of fans at first were like, really, this guy? That week, I just remember I thought he could talk me into buying a timeshare, because for the start of the week I was going, they're not going to lose, we're not going to do it. But at the end of the week, he had me buzzing. What was he like in the dressing room about this time? Because he seemed just utterly convinced. Don't worry, we're going to win.
Yeah, hard to remember back actually what happened every day, but it was never ever without a smile on his face. He was that type of guy, and if you were in a bad mood and you looked at the big end, you would see these gleaming white teeth, glaring at you, and with a huge big smile on his face. And it's hard to kind of be annoyed at that, So he was a good leader in terms of raising people's spirits and stuff. And we trained well, knowing we had the chance, knowing that the one thing we concentrated on the whole week was you just got to go to Easter Road and win. You cannot ever leave this ground without winning that game, and then Celtic don't get the result certainly get the result that would have won us the title. You'll regret that for the rest of your life. So you have to win the game, and again it was a wee bit like the mind games of when you go on a summer break and 1 winter training, you've got to come back and win. If I give you Christmas Day off, you've got to win tomorrow. It's no question of anything other than a victory, and that was the mantra for the whole week. And in that Hibs game, we knew Hibs were in the verge of Europe, so we did have a feeling that if we could get ahead, then Hibs might be afraid of losing their goals, and they might shut up. They might try and stay back. So they were a bit tentative in the beginning, and as you know, we had to go at them the whole game. And then, as you saw at the end, after the Nacho's goal, Buffalo's little run at the defence, and after that, it was Hibs just could not come out beyond the 18-yard line, and the only thing that was worrying me was Big Marvin. Him that said everything will be okay. He kept trying to run out of defence with the ball. It wasn't his forte. It definitely wasn't his forte. And I said, "Where are you going, Marvin?" He says, "But the coach there, standing 50 yards behind us, so I must drive with the ball." And I says, "Biggin, stay back." And him and Kariakos were playing keep ball.
That's right.
The most tense.
Kenny Clark said to me one time, he said Barry Ferguson came up to him when there was 5 minutes left, and he said, "Blow the whistle, this is boring." He said, "I can't blow the whistle early, Barry." He's like, "All right, okay." He said, then the next thing, there's an explosion in the crowd. He says, and Barry runs up to me and goes, "How long's left?" And he went, "It's no boring now, is it, Barry?" What was it like when that moment happened? When you heard the crowd explode?
As I say, I've said many times that was the biggest spine tingler in my life was that roar, and I obviously knew Motherwell had scored, and Barry, like just like the same day the treble, the league title victory a couple of years before, Barry shouting off the park, "What's happening? What's happening?" I said, well, obviously with the noise of that Rangers crowd, which was something that like no other before, ever or since. Then but Barry realised obviously that Motherwell had scored. And then there was another roar, and I thought that was the full-time whistle at Fir Park, but it was Scott McDonald scoring again. So, this at that moment we knew we'd done it.
The celebrations were amazing.
Then the referee blew for full-time.
Oh, what a day. I mean, it was just... It'll never be beaten, because to be, 4 minutes away from no winning the title, to then have it all turned around in that space of time was just extraordinary. And at this stage, Alex, the first title triumph, you've got all these amazing players, you've got this squad, you've turned them into being a good, but they're a good squad. This squad on paper maybe wasn't as strong as Celtic's, and yet you'd overcome them.
Yeah, that's a good point. But a couple of the overriding factors was definitely that we did a good wee bit of preparation in the previous transfer window, and then again in January, David helped me to bring in those four players had just also galvanised the squad again. So when you look back at it, you think, well, we weren't, the quality wise wasn't the same level as the 2003 team, but in terms of never say die, never giving up, then the Helicopter Sunday team, that's what they had in their locker.
I was at the game, and I was probably the same as you when that second drawer came up from the stand. I thought that was 1-1. I didn't actually find out for about 2 hours that it was 2-1. It was it was so surreal sitting in the stand and hearing the noise. And also, you mentioned that our game wasn't exactly frantic at this point. Hibs were quite happy, so it's almost like you're kind of wanting to watch another game. It was such a pressurised situation, but at the same time, quite surreal sitting there watching kind of a bit of a non-event going on in the park at the same time.
Oh, honestly, see that the first row when Scott McDonald scored the equaliser. That honestly, it's hard. Obviously, you can see it in reruns and stuff, but just to be there on that day and to listen to the noise that was made, that goal was just unbeatable.
Oh, it was just such an extraordinary time. And then the following season, Alex, now obviously it's a disappointment, but even during that, there is this Champions League run, and I don't think it's fair to end the interview on a low, so I'll maybe swap them about a wee bit if that's okay. We'll finish up with the Champions League because, as I say, still Rangers' best performance in the Champions League, so I think it deserves a wee bit of credit. But obviously during that season, the league campaign starts to go badly. And we have that famous, or infamous, I suppose, 10-game run, no victories. David Murray sort of publicly, I think, puts your job on the line with this "we'll review it in December" thing. And I think it became sort of clear during this stage that a change was going to come, even if it was at the end of the season, which of course he announces later. Is there just a thing with a football manager? You mentioned that Dick Advocaat's saying to you that I've told them and it's not getting through. Is there maybe a shelf life for a manager where it's just they're not listening anymore?
Well, I think there's a shelf life. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, at Rangers, clubs like Rangers and Celtic and other teams of that ilk. And in terms of leaving the club, I'd say to David, listen, I've gone January, we'd qualified for the last 16, and he says, no, and Alec, listen, there's no one that I would expect to walk the team out against Villarreal other than you. So, I said, okay, well, stay at the end of the season. And it was a wee bit kind of strange because everybody knew and it was out in the open. Normally, you associate that kind of decision with foreign teams.
That's right, yeah.
I was a big, I bought the World Soccer every month and then reading about foreign managers, and you'd always see them saying things like, the coach is going to resign at the end of the season, or he's going to leave at the end of the season, they've already lined up, blah, blah, blah. So it was getting towards that kind of European system. And I thought, well, maybe that's the way our games are evolving as well.
But staying on, actually, we had a great second half of the season. If we'd got as many points in the first half of the season as we did in the second, we'd have been running close again. So it was good to get a wee bit of consistency back into the team in the second half of the season, get some injured players back. And, that was probably the key to everything, consistency and confidence again. And Dado was missing for a wee part of the season too. So Dado was there at that time, wasn't he?
Yeah. He did get injured, as you say. He never really recovered. He got a knee injury and then...
That's right, yeah. Aye. So, in the end, I'm saying, well, there's been a fantastic ride, around the roller coaster sometimes, but, in essence, when you look back, then you think, well, I didn't do a bad job there at all.
Not at all.
And I didn't think the players were getting fed up per se. I just felt that we needed to change things around a wee bit in terms of personnel, and it took a couple of years for Rangers to do that when Walker came back.
Do you think that fans get bored, Alex? Like just never mind this. They just sometimes crave a new face.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely. But as I said, I think the big clubs sometimes it's a shelf life. Alex Ferguson and people like that accepted.
Let's talk about that European run then, Alex. That was obviously a pretty big distraction, and we did so well to get through, as you mentioned. It might have been more of a distraction if Chris Boyd's leg had been a couple of inches longer in Villarreal. That's another kind of sliding doors moment, but that must have been a real highlight of that season for you.
Yeah, my life flashed before my eyes, and Boydie's clear my throat. And yeah, see what I was saying earlier about, we just still went for every game, even though maybe we didn't have quite that quality. Possibly Stephen will be thinking that a wee bit this season. That something when you see Rangers in the European scene this season, they've done really well on counter attack, but Stevie knows as well as I know that in Scotland you just cannot play counter attack. You've got to, as a Rangers team, you've got to go out and win every game. And in that season, I felt that we did try and win every game, but we just didn't have quite that confidence or quality. There was some younger guys in the team at the time and learning their trade. But the one thing that we did do was, in Europe we were pretty tactical and didn't play necessarily to win games, but made sure that we stifled the opposition and we would grab our chance, i.e. the game in Porto. And, into Milan as well at Ibrox, we I wouldn't say we defended in that game, but it was more a very organised structure to allow us to, get the result that we needed. And that's the Champions League kind of, for me, came across more as tactical and rather than what we did in the league with maybe a weakened squad.
Lovenkrands is always a player I associate more with you. Obviously, Advocat signed him, but he obviously had his best time with you. The 18 months at the start where he was on fire, and then this Champions League campaign as well. I think he got 4 goals in the group stages and then the knockout round. He was a pretty crucial player at this time.
Well, yeah, you see what Peter had done before in games before, the 2 goals in the cup final 2002, and what he'd done since. And he was a reluctant conscript when you asked him to play in the wing. He just wanted to play through the middle all the time. And when you think about it, the goals he scored for us, the important goals he scored, he did get a lot of them through the middle and playing in, and then inside
forward kind of area, coming in from the wide and playing inside, a bit like the modern day 4-3-3s. The wingers come in and play with the centre forward. Peter ended up drifting in there quite a lot, rather than giving the ball. At first, when I first saw Peter and I first started working with him, I thought, right, he's got some speed. He's just a guy. He's a winger. Give him the ball and tell him to run at the defender. But there was much more to him than that.
Alex, we worked out one time, believe it or not, the greatest pound for pound signing in Rangers history. And it might surprise you to know that you made it. It was 400 grand to Dundee for Nacho Novo. And nobody's going to say that Nacho was the best player Rangers have ever had, but he scored twice to take us into the Champions League. So what's that, 20 million? He scored the winning goal in a Scottish Cup final. He got 8 against Celtic. He got the goal in Florence to take us to the UEFA Cup final. What was it like to work with him?
When you say all that, God...
For 400 grand?
Money,
Not bad, eh?
Money. Yeah, no, listen, he was a pretty little guy, and he's got the pidgin English, and talking to him, he's so Rangers orientated. It's not true, isn't it? When you speak to him, and having met him a few times when we were going in and out to see Fernando in hospital, God rest his soul, we Nacho and I had gone through the times together, with the history, and he is such a fervent Rangers fan. So that, as you said, that is some piece of business. Yeah, absolutely, fantastic. When you think of we get Dado for nothing, we get Boomsong for nothing, make 8 million out of him, and there's a lot of really good acquisitions over the years. Walter then went on and brought Jelavic, people like that, Stephen Davis, and to get an incredible team going too. So that's the key. Recruitment is the key, and especially how much these guys craved playing for Rangers.
Novo got the helicopter Sunday goal as well, which was missing that list, and that's
well,
just a ridiculous amount.
I was thinking there was something glaringly missing there.
It's no bad.
Not bad at all. Alex, you've obviously got great experience working with Sir Alex Ferguson. He's one of the first managers that I ever really remember discussing how he would deal with opposition players tactically. I remember watching Man United 10, 15 years ago, and they've got midfields that other teams wouldn't necessarily play, but they were there to do a specific job and nullify the opposition. I remember him doing that way before Jose Mourinho and Rafa Benitez were kind of doing it 15 years ago. Was that something that you've learned from him? Is that, obviously playing for Rangers, we're probably more concerned about what we do first, but was that kind of opposition focus something that you did a lot of?
Yeah, no, listen, we never ever disrespected opposition, no matter who it was, but we were always confident, especially when you have a certain amount of players in your team that, for instance, the 2003 title winning team, that you're going to win more than you're going to lose, if at all. And that was how confident we were with these guys, at your beck and call. When you mentioned Sir Alex, obviously there was a lot of learning from him. Midfields, he even experimented with 3 at the back once, and then Willoughby said, "Well, listen, I can't do that." So you get your senior players having a say as well. But if I give you an example of, we spoke about the French League One. I went to see Gerard Houllier when I was at Rangers at the time. I was before that, but Gerard kindly invited me to watch Lyon training for a week. And at that time they were winning the French League. I think they won 3 in a row with Gerard. And chatting with him over lunch, and I said to him, you know, do you get nervous in the dugout? Do you still feel this, you know, the feelings you get in your stomach? And you know, because I get them, and he said, yeah, everybody gets them. He said, and I remember Sir Alex as well, even in the Pittodrie dressing room, and going through the toilet just always 1 minute before we went out for the game, you know, to clear his throat and stuff like that. And Gerard, when asking him that, I said, are you nervous? He says, look, Alec, he said, you are nervous always. He said, but less so when you can look out on that pitch and trust those guys you see on the pitch. Now, he was looking at Janino and all these guys, you know, so top players, and at the time I was looking at the De Boers and the Fergusons, and so, you know, total trust in these guys, and then sometimes, you know, when you're maybe inherited some players, or you've brought some that are not quite the right fit, then that's when you realise that the recruitment thing is absolutely vital in football.
Last question from me, bringing it back to the current day then. How do you think Steven Gerrard's doing with Rangers? Obviously this season hasn't been as successful as we'd ever want it to be, but how do you think he's going, and are there any players that we've got just now that you'd have loved a shot at managing in the current squad?
Yeah, listen, I think, you know, obviously anybody that's come to Rangers over the last few years is playing catch up, and in terms of you know, Celtic's financial power and them winning the league for so many years, and you know, Rangers been out of the league for so many years, and Stephen, I think, he's shown the gravitas. I think the gravitas that goes with being the Rangers manager is something that you need, and Stevie has shown that. I think they will be, and knowing the pride of him and Big McAllister, these guys will be absolutely hurting badly of the slide after beating Celtic again in an Old Firm derby, similar to what happened last year, of, you know, losing out and all those points. You know, you would think, you know, Stevie Gerrard, he's done everything, European Cups, won them, and played for England so many times, that he would come up and, you know, I'm Stevie Gerrard, but he's been excellent in the press, he's been humble, and you know, you can tell the power and the gravitas, as I said, the gravitas of the man, and he'll know better than anybody what his team are capable of, what they're not capable of, and what he needs to try and make sure that these leagues don't end as early as this. It's not finished yet, of course, we don't know the decisions. They don't end as early, and that they go right to the wire, and I would love them to do something like that and experience what I experienced at Rangers Football Club.
Alex,
what about the current players then? What about the current players? Is there anyone from maybe the current season that you think would slot into 2002 season or 2004 squad that you'd love to have had a shot at managing?
He's wanting you to say Tav, Alex, because he loves him.
Tavernier.
He loves them.
No,
I do.
He's a very attack-minded player.
He's no Morris Ross.
Tav would probably have done well in my Hibs team in that at the back, you know, with playing one of the wing back roles. So he's very accomplished as an attacking fullback, a modern day fullback, no doubt about it. And yeah, he's a very decent player. You know, we had Rickson ahead, his time, Arthur Newman ahead of their times. You know, these swashbuckling fullbacks, and Tavernier's one of those as well. Would he have got into my team in that day, those particular years? I'd say no.
Told you.
I'd say no. But it may have a good rubber-dub-dub.
Alex, you know the best thing about this is we spoke to you for an hour and a half, and we thank you for the time that you've given us today. We could have gone another 3 times this,
and 3 days.
And in terms of your status in Scottish football, that's without even touching your playing career. That's without even touching your post Rangers career or your pre Rangers managerial career. I do have one cheeky question from a Rangers fan point of view. I've got to ask, so I apologise. But 1990 title decider, 1991 title decider at Ibrox, Aberdeen. Yous were flying. Why did Alex Smith change the tactics that day? Yous went with a weird system I've never seen yous play before.
Well, what we were doing, we were going 4-4-2 all the time, I think.
Aye, they changed it that day to 4-3-3 for some reason.
Aye, I know. I don't know, but I think Ali actually, to Alex's credit, he discussed it with the players, the senior players as well, first and foremost, and then he discussed it with the squad and reasoned why he was changing it, and you know the reasons came through pretty loud and clear, and I don't think anybody, you know, except the guys who were left out. Yeah, I don't know, was it Van der Aert? Did he leave him there?
He did, I put him on the bench.
Yeah, and you know, Van der Aert would probably be the only one who would have thought, well, I'm not happy with it, but you know, mostly the way he described the tactics and see, to be fair, if you look at the game again, we did have a couple of chances that normally the players that missed them would have buried them. Hans Geelhuis and Peter van der Ven had gone through. I think Hans were ahead there. He's fantastic in the air, Hans Geelhuis. And then Peter van der Ven had gone through and
it was a sitter, aye, one on
right, and I think the goalie saved it or something. But and then of course, you know, Big Hateley jumping on my shoulders. That was a foul all day, all day long.
I spoke to him about that, and he said that in the opening minute he told Gary Stevens to whip a ball right on top of the keeper so he could put him into the back of the net. You're not allowed that these days, are you? Not allowed that.
He done it. You can't do that now, but you breathe on the goalie now, and it's a free kick.
Right.
But in the days, you know, you kind of get away with it. And Big Mike Watt was a great young goalkeeper, but you know, Theo would have gave us a boost if he'd come back that day, but Theo felt he wasn't quite ready, which was a shame. And you know, Rangers had to beat them in the last day at Ibrox with that big fervent crowd behind them, as much the same as I experienced at Easter Road that day.
Oh, well, listen, thank you so much for doing this. As I say, it's been a pleasure. One of the things for folks who are listening to this and maybe don't subscribe to our site yet, we have got a 60-hour look back at, it's not all in one go, it's in 1 hourly episodes where we looked at every single game, every single month of Alex's time at Rangers. And one of the things we wanted to do was to get you the credit that I think that for some reason in Scotland we're very keen to give to foreign managers, and we don't seem to give to our own. Both you and Walter, I think, don't get the level of respect that you deserve for your achievements at Rangers. So if in any way this helps to get you the credit that your managerial record deserves.
I do feel that, you know, we don't get the credit we deserve. And even in England, you know, having won the Carling Cup and that, and finishing 9th in the Premier League, I felt I would have had more job offers, you know, down there. But you know, sometimes you can't reason and figure out why.
Well, the biggest tribute a Rangers fan can ever pay to somebody is to give you the term Rangers legend, and I think you more than qualify for that. So my thanks to Alex for doing that. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, boys. That was brilliant. Enjoyed the chat.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's show, why not check out our Patreon site? For as little as the price of a matchday programme a month, you'll get access to loads of Gers content, including daily updates, tactical analysis, previews and post-match shows, plus an amazing archive covering all things Rangers, including stepping back in time to discuss particular games, managerial reviews, interviews with Ibrox legends, watch-alongs, and the odd bit of stuff and nonsense too. Please head over to patreon.com/heart and hand and join thousands of bears on the best value podcast on the world's most successful club.